What's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on the rest of our hurricane. We have Hurricane Idalia that has been moving its way through the southeast. It made landfall today as a high-end Category 3 hurricane just after it strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane right here. So it was a Category 4 hurricane at this point, but when it made landfall, I think that it made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, but it was somewhere between a Category 4 Category 3 hurricane as it made landfall in the Big Bend region. We're starting to see this would be I think this radar hasn't been updated, but I think we will start to see those reports of those stronger wind gusts move into areas near Georgia and South Carolina as the eye wall of the storm approaches those areas. But those outer bands are certainly moving through those areas pretty swiftly now. We also do have a very, very high tornado threat. We have an existing tornado and severe weather threat today. We're going to be tracking all of this in today's update. So once again, we'll look at here at the wide view of our radar here. We also do have some strong to severe storms that have been moving their way through New England. We've only seen like maybe one or two severe thunderstorm warnings from these, but you know, we're not going to be tracking these for the most part today. But the rest of the country is mainly dry. Maybe some rain showers up here in the northwest, mountainous regions of the northwest, but that is pretty much it for the most part. So we're going to be moving on to our alerts. And you can see, that the most action is clearly down here in the southeast. You can see those hurricane warnings have expired now for the entire kind of coastline of Florida, all these counties out in Florida. But we still have ongoing tropical storm warnings out for the Carolina coastline, goes down into parts of Georgia. So you can see in the red here, this is a tropical storm warning, including the coastal regions and parts of eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, and then extreme eastern Georgia. And then on top of that, just northwest of that, you have these flood watches. We have been seeing very, very big, flooding. We've seen already catastrophic impacts from the storm. We had wind damage for sure. Those winds were whipping out there, especially in the Big Bend region, right up here, just south of Tallahassee. I'm telling you, those winds were really strong. But um, we have also been seeing some very strong storm surge. Again, it's that catastrophic storm surge that we've been warning you guys about. That happened very, very early this morning. We saw storm surge that in some places got over 10 feet high. So we saw very, very bad and catastrophic flooding out in the region. Very sad story to see. Storm has claimed a life or two as for now, but I fear that there are some more victims that will be found on the way. But for now, we do have a tornado watch. Also under these regions out here, you can't see it because there are a lot of alerts out for this region right now. But there is a tornado watch out here for an area in here. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for some county out here. I want you to also pay attention to this. Let me move myself up. Actually, I can't, but there are wind advisories, high wind watches, and high wind warnings out for. Actually, that would be. I just realized that is actually out for a few counties in Montana, but I do think that we actually have a high wind watch at least. Yeah, we have a high wind watch out here for areas of the Carolinas. So you really still got to pay attention to those rotating winds. You still have very, very strong offshore winds that are going to be digging down right into the Carolinas and then right back up, rotating around that low pressure center of the storm. We really got to watch out for those winds that are going to be causing power outages across the region. So we're going to be moving on to the GFS. We're looking at our temperatures for today. We'll just look at tomorrow's. But today we had highs in the 70s. Some of you got in the 80s. Down here in the areas near Florida, it's kind of crazy to see we're still in the 80s, even though we get a massive hurricane. But look at these temperatures going way back down into the 70s. Very moist out here. Oh my gosh, it is. It must be very uncomfortable out there. Um, but look at this. You got two dueling cold fronts moving down from Canada. So I'm telling you guys, it is going to feel like fall sooner than you know. We already do have temperatures back in the 50s for most of you guys in the Northwest, most of you guys in the North. Well, not most of you guys, but some of you guys in the Northeast. So it's going to get cooler, a lot cooler, before you know it. And look at this. We're also not seeing anybody in the hundreds out here, and nobody's hitting 100 degrees out here in the central U.S. We still have that heat dome. Temperatures have been rising back into the upper hundreds out here in the desert region out here, back at around 108 degrees. So still very very hot. But we see tonight our temperatures really get down. I mean, you can see we're in the 50s waking up tomorrow morning. So we're definitely getting that fall chill. That's definitely coming soon. But then we go right back up into those 70s and 60s for some of you. So tomorrow, for you guys in the Northeast, 70s. Maybe some of you could hit 80 degrees on the coastline, but that's pretty much it. Southeast, storms moving out. If you're on the North Carolina coastline, look at this pocket of very cool air. The sharp, very, very sharp kind of like twist of, you're going from the 80s down to the lower 70s, upper 60s. So a lot of moisture out here. But for pretty much the most of the Southeast, you're in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Somewhere around there. Central U.S., northern, southern, and central U.S., you will be in the 90s. Some of you could get up to 100 degrees, but you'd have to be farther south down here in Texas. Southwest, pretty much same as the central U.S., but you could definitely see some higher temperatures if you're closer to those desert regions out here along the California and Arizona borderline. Then the Northwest, you just have temperature ranging from the 50s all the way up into the 70s. So that's gonna be it for your alerts. We're gonna be looking at the rest of Hurricane Idalia. So like I said earlier, Idalia made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. I think it made landfall initially as a Category 4 hurricane, but you can be on board with either or. We still have tropical storm force conditions and winds out there in the Carolinas. You can see our current wind field estimate in this picture here. Still got that yellow marking where those tropical storm force winds are, including parts of South Carolina and Georgia. That's going to move its way up into North Carolina, and we'll see some more of those stronger onshore winds move their way into the beaches of the Carolinas. But storm surge is expected along the southeastern coastline within the storm surge warning area through tonight. So we will still see the storm surge, at its high point, even as we get into tonight. And coastal flooding is also expected within the storm surge watch area in North Carolina on Thursday. So that would be for, I believe, tomorrow. Residents in these areas should follow any advice given by local officials. I mean, I don't think, I don't, if one of you guys watching this video are in North Carolina or in South Carolina, I doubt that you are evacuated, but I'm just telling you guys, if you happen to be living near the coastline, I would just make sure that you are staying in the upper floor of your house for the most of tonight and then tomorrow, just because if that storm surge gets to that high point, it's going to be too dangerous to be in the bottom, just like the ground level, because that water is going to be high enough to fill in that room quick enough to really just, it can drown you. So it's good to stay on the upper floor. But tropical storm force winds will affect portions of the southeast U.S. through coast through Thursday. So again, those coastal winds, those offshore winds are going to be a huge thing for impacts, as we see more impacts from Idalia as we get into tonight. That's going to get those waves very, very high. That's also a reason why we're seeing the storm surge. Areas of flash urban, and moderate river flooding with considerable impacts are expected from east central Georgia through eastern South Carolina and eastern North Carolina into Thursday. So for now, we do have a moderate risk for flash flooding all the way up here from what is this? The Wilmington. And let me go up to this map here. Um, 1 second. All right, here we go. We got the Hateras and the Wilmington area down through North Carolina and then South Carolina. This runs through central South Carolina, including Augusta, South Carolina. I would say this would. I mean, I know you guys in Charleston are in that slight risk, but I would pretty much consider you guys in that moderate risk. So it's a pretty big area. This is a heavily populated area for sure. A little bit less up here, just because we got those islands out on this. Kind of area, the piece of land out here that stretches through the North Carolina coastline. But you can see we got cities like Wilmington and Augusta, Georgia. I mean, these are two cities that hold a lot of people. So you really gotta be careful when these that very dangerous storms move through. So we're gonna be looking at our SPC outlook for our severe weather today. You can see we actually surprisingly, I'm not surprised, but we have an enhanced risk for severe weather. I know, a hurricane comes and you're like thinking about all the wind and the rain and the flooding, but you have a severe weather threat that's pretty decently high. Okay, this is so far out for just the Carolina coastline. This goes all the way up the South Carolina coastline and then pretty much halfway up the North Carolina coastline. Okay, you really got to pay attention. It's not those storms that are near that eye wall. Those are just storms that are going to be dumping rainfall and producing those strong sustained winds. It's those rotating bands, those outer bands of the storm that are really going to be causing those severe thunderstorms. We've been seeing this picture unfold all across Florida throughout last night and then into today. We've been seeing so many tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, all the way up and down the Florida peninsula. Now we're going to see this shift into the Carolinas, where we'll see the storm kind of run through like that. Okay, and we'll see those outer bands really just reach into these areas in here, in here, and in here. So if you're if you're in this enhanced risk or the slight risk, which is marked in the orange and yellow, you really gotta make sure that you are ready for those outer bands. The worst of the severe weather is going to be moving in soon, because the center of the storm, the eye wall, is pretty much considered to be right. I would say it's somewhere between these two circles here. I know we saw it was about here on the radar, but I don't think that was updated. So I would say the eye is pretty much right here. So those outer bands, again, are going to be moving around the storm, reaching into the areas that are covered by that enhanced risk. So we're going to be moving on to our tornado threat. Actually, let me go back. I actually didn't set this up. 1 second. So let me get a new window up here. 1 second, guys. I apologize for the pausing of the video. Just need to get a new window up here and get you guys the tornado. 1 second. All right, so we'll go back to the day one. Sorry for the the pausing of the video. It's just I didn't realize I didn't have it set up. All right, here. So we do have a 10% risk for tornadoes. You might not believe it, but we have a 10% risk for tornadoes up for the southeast. What we're expecting with this, I mean, it's not going to be a tornado outbreak, but we're saying that there are each and every one of these supercells and these systems that are going to be rotating around the center of the storm are definitely going to have at least a little bit of rotation. Some of them may have strong enough rotation to spawn tornadoes up and down this area through in the Wilmington, Charleston, Savannah area. And then we have a 5% risk as well surrounding those areas. But I mean, you look at this. We do have a population total of over 1.5 million people under this 10% risk for tornadoes. So we're definitely going to have spinning thunderstorms. But this is one of the impacts that we were expecting with the outer bands of the storm, that they could have the potential to produce um, damaging winds, tornadoes, and maybe even some hail. We have less than 5% chance of seeing some hail, but I think damaging winds and tornadoes are going to be the main threat. With the severe weather aspect, tornadoes are the main threat for sure. I don't want to scare you guys with that. I'm just saying that when we see a 10% risk for tornadoes and only 5% and 0% risk for wind and hail, it's pretty obvious that the tornado threat is going to be the main show for today. That is what's driving our enhanced risk in the southeast today. So let me go back to our main part of the update. We're looking at now our composite reflectivity on our NAM model out here, and we're just gonna take a look at the rest of the storm, see where it's going, and see kind of which supercells have the potential to have enough strong rotation to drop a tornado. So this was a few hours ago. We still had a clear defined eye right here. I guess this wasn't an hour ago, but somewhere around now is where we are here. We still have a clear defined eye. The northern and western side of the storm are the strongest parts of the storm. As for now, there is a lot of gapping out here in the eastern side of the storm, so it's looking like the storm is definitely weakening for sure. It is, I believe, a tropical storm, but I think it might be a Category 1 hurricane still, but I think it's a tropical storm. And you can see it just quickly falls apart. As soon as we move this in time, it quickly falls apart. But look at these storms down here. It's in South Carolina. These all if you zoom in here, I don't know if we can zoom in here, but if we'll zoom in here. You can see these storms here that kind of look like a bubbly shape. These are those supercells. And look, they're right in that same area of that enhanced risk. I'll circle that area of the enhanced risk, which is right in here. And you can see that all those bubbly looking uh, storm cells are in that same area of the enhanced risk. So that's something that's going to be very interesting. But you're going to see that throughout this model run. So let me move this circle back here. 1 second. All right, move this back here. So yeah, that enhanced risk is going to be right into there. And we see those bubbly looking rotating supercells right in that area. And then all of these storms will be also dumping a lot of rainfall as we see the storm finally move into the Carolinas, and then we see the storm kind of pulling out of the Georgia and Florida area. And then this finally starts moving out to sea. Still, look at this. You still got some very strong thunderstorms on these outer bands of the storm. It's still a tropical storm with decently strong 60-mile-an-hour winds. So it's still a very, very dangerous storm. But I think that the impacts in North Carolina, they're going to be a little less. But I think they are going to be manageable. I know it's still going to be dangerous out here for sure, especially on the coastline of North Carolina. But, if you're not on the coastline in North Carolina, the only thing you have to worry about is the severe weather threat, which will be relatively low for the inland regions of North Carolina, and then also just those strong winds in general. The rest of you guys should be fine throughout tonight. There will be power outages for sure, but I don't think that it's going to be nearly as widespread as areas down here in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. So we see the storm move out. Some more Gulf moisture left over from the storm that kind of got sheared off by that by the westerly flow. It's going to be moving into the Florida region as we get into tomorrow. So maybe some more rain will fall. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to be very, very hot tomorrow. I've learned that from experience. Whenever we get a tropical-like system up here in the Northeast, it's always brutally hot the next day. So I'm sure most of you guys down here in the Southeast have been through the same thing. So it will probably feel like you're in the jungle, but it's very, very hot. So it's not the best feeling, but I'm afraid that's what's going to happen tomorrow. So We're just going to be looking at the current HRRR model for our wind gust. You can see our storm actually turns out to be centered right around this region of the border of South Carolina and Georgia. But we see still those really strong offshore winds really whipping into the beaches. You can see here, these are sustained winds. These are sustained winds at around 45 miles an hour, gusting to 55. So I mean, we might even still have gusts off the coast up to 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. Because I just realized that these are knots. These are in knots. So if we have, 45 mile an hour, 45 knots of wind here, then that means we have sustained winds at around 55 miles an hour with gusts up to 60, maybe even higher. So very, very scary to see, the storm still having that very, very intense wind field out here. But we're getting to the middle of the night. We're still seeing some more strong offshore winds, still gusting to around 50 miles per hour. And then the storm moves off the coastline of North Carolina. Look at this. I mean, this entire, this kind of like band, or just this field of very strong winds just suddenly emerges off the coast of North Carolina. This is going to impact the Wilmington area. But I really do think that this is going to be that second push of stronger winds. We see here in the purple, we get 50 to 50 mile an hour, 50 to 50 knot winds. Those are sustained winds at around 60 miles an hour. You're likely going to have gusts up to 70 miles per hour if you are on the North Carolina coastline. You're probably, I mean, this could even be, so for the HRRR is saying that this is going to be as late as 10 a.m. tomorrow. So you're waking up tomorrow and you're seeing wind gusts that could get up to 65 miles an hour on the North Carolina coastline. That's kind of crazy to see that. But the storm's even stronger as it moves offshore. It's At this point it's strengthening because it's made it offshore, so it's still got those warm waters to deal with. So there's really nothing stopping it at this point. So once it gets to the Atlantic, we're gonna have to watch the system as it may. It looks like it's gonna have a decent shot at getting back up to that Category 1 hurricane status, but we still will have sustained winds clearly here, from ranging from 50 up to 60, maybe even 65 miles per hour. So we're certainly going to have a high end tropical storm as we get all the way into tomorrow afternoon. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So, very, very sad storm and story that we had out there in Florida. I haven't looked at most of the pictures yet, but I've seen the videos. The damage looks bad. We'll see what the aftermath looks like once we get to tomorrow morning. And I'll actually look at the power outage map for you guys. 1 second here. So 1 second here. I'll get this up for you guys. Power. Oops. Sorry, guys. All right. So we'll look at poweroutage.us. Yeah, but I mean, you can see out here in Madison County. Madison County got hit the hardest out of all these counties. I mean, this is just. I mean, these numbers are off the charts. You can see we pretty much pretty much all of the just only 1,000 out of the 14,000 residents out here in Madison County don't have power. You can see, so far we have 13,000, a little over 13,000 people out here that are out of power. But you go down to Taylor, I mean, you have 14,000. You go to Jefferson, you got 8,000. But it's right in this Big Bend area of Florida. You even go down to Levi, or Levy, I don't know. You still got 10,000 people without power. 8,000 in Dixie. Lafayette with 3,000. 24,000. Wow, 24,000 in Suwannee. So Suwannee County is almost completely out of power. Suwannee County is pretty much out of power completely right now. We have just over 24,500 people without power. I mean, that is crazy. Okay. But we look at the zoom out here, the zoom out of just the entire country out here, and you can see that we have over 100,000 people without power in both Georgia and Florida, and then a little over 10,000 in South Carolina. We still have more to come though. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to watch. I'm sorry for the delays. I forgot to set up that the tornado outlook and then also the power outage outlook. But thank you guys for staying with me watching this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.